Mike Seltzer, head strength and conditioning coach at Bates College, and I'm here with Figure It Out Baseball. And in this video, we're going to go over a shoulder CAR, a shoulder controlled articular rotation, and what that looks like, what that exercise is, and how we program it to improve the overall health of the shoulder. Okay. Before I go into the actual exercise, I just need to give full credit to Dr. Andrea Ospina, who's the creator of the functional range system. This kind of thought process is based off of his teaching and all the courses I've attended from him, so I just want to make sure that I give him full credit. Shoulder CAR, controlled articular rotation. We're going to move the shoulder through the biggest degrees of freedom that we can create under control without compensation, okay, inside a pain-free range of motion. So what that's going to look like, I'll do one, and then I'll kind of talk through what we're looking at. I'm in a kneeling position so that you can see the full length of my arm as I come overhead. So I'll stand up to show you the start position. I've got my hands, palm facing right on my thigh, okay? So I come back down. You're going to see I come into shoulder flexion first. From here, I'm just going to pretend that I have an X on my bicep, and I'm going to try and spin that away. Rotate, continue the rotation, bring the arm down. And now my arm is facing this position, my thumb facing behind, my palm facing you, facing away from me as I finish, okay? Then I would just go in reverse, so keep that position, come back, rotate, come all the way around and back to my start position. So really what I'm doing is, if you watch the previous video, we talked about how much degrees of freedom and range of motion the shoulder have. I'm just trying to express that nice and slow, under control, to prepare the shoulder for movements that I have throughout the day, to prepare the shoulder for throwing, to get certain structures and receptors in the shoulder primed and ready to accept information, which is me doing athletic movements or lifting weights. Okay, so the technical stuff to go over, what to think about as you perform this, I will make my athletes on campus here do this in their warm-up and then do it throughout their workout. So I might program it as an active recovery if we're doing pull-ups, say. So I'll have athletes do a set of pull-ups, they'll come out and we'll do 3 or 4 of these shoulder-controlled articular rotations, okay? So the way it looks is I start here, so I'm going to go into shoulder flexion. So all the compensations that I talked about in the previous video, spinal extension, rib flaring, elbow bending, all of that stuff comes into play. I want to limit that. I want to make sure that the athlete is not doing that. The change now happens. I come into shoulder flexion, making sure that there's no compensation. Again, I want that bicep right next to my ear, and I'm going to pretend that there's an X here. So now I'm going to internally rotate the shoulder. So I'm going to do that by trying to corkscrew my arm into place so that I don't pronate the forearm to start the movement, because you can see my upper arm hasn't moved. I'm just going to try and rotate through internal rotation, and I keep internal rotation happening until I get all the way. Now I'm in shoulder extension, and I bring it down. So again, that bottom position is going to look here. Then I'm going to start in reverse. So now I'm going external rotation, or excuse me, extension. Then I start to externally rotate the shoulder. I'm going to bring it all the way back around and back down. So I start with flexion, go to internal rotation, into extension, and then I just reverse extension into external rotation, back into flexion, and finish down next to my side. Okay? So typically I'll program 3 or 4 of those in both directions, going forward and backwards in a warm-up, and then again we'll do the same thing in between as an active recovery in the sets. Okay, so that is a shoulder-controlled articular rotation. Again, the key points, go super slow, very controlled. You want to, it's a self-exploration, so you want to explore the range of motion that your shoulder can comfortably go through. We don't want to force ourselves into a range of motion that we can't control. So that means if I stop short, because I don't have a lot of shoulder flexion, I'm not going to force myself back. I'm going to start my movement from there. Okay, that means if I am dealing with some shoulder issues and I get up and I start to internally rotate it and I feel something that it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel natural, well then I'm going to cut the corner and I can come way out here and get my rotation happening. This should be comfortable, but it should be slow and controlled. So again, Slow and controlled, under control, without compensation, and outside of any pain, so we're in a pain-free range of motion. There are a couple compensations that you'll find when you actually start the rotation aspect of this is you'll see people shrug their shoulder. You'll see or have the tendency to maybe want to turn your torso with it, okay? Or you might actually have somebody side bend away. We just want to limit that as best as we can, okay? So it's up, trying to limit any compensation as we move around, then start in reverse and come back around. So shoulder controlled articular rotation, it's one of the primary movement exercises for shoulder health that I give to my athletes here. And I think that if you take your time and you really buy into how to move your shoulder and how to move it well through a full range of motion, you'll see a ton of improvement in how your shoulder functions, how you can throw a baseball, how you can actually swing a bat as well. So again, Mike Seltzer, head strength conditioning coach at Bates College, here with Figure It Out Baseball.